Time magazine recently published a new article about Bernie Sanders supporters that brings back the Bernie bro myth. Now, when I talk about Bernie bros, and when I call it a myth, I'm not implying that there isn't a small portion of Bernie Sanders' base that is sexist or misogynistic and harasses people online. But what I'm saying is that this is common with every single candidate ever. Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Ted Cruz, John Kasich, they all have supporters who are overzealous, who sometimes harass people, and who act in immoral, unethical ways. So when you say Bernie bro and you use that term, you're implying that there's a certain uniqueness to Bernie Sanders and his supporters that really make them a special kind of crazy, that they're willing to go gung-ho and attack anyone who goes against Bernie Sanders. But that's not true. See, what the Bernie bro myth does is it demonizes people who want systemic change. It's people who are the working poor, who are fighting for a $15 minimum wage, who are fighting for universal health care because they can't afford the monthly health insurance premiums. These people are passionate because they finally have a candidate who has come along and actually is willing to support them and not any corporation or billionaire. So yeah, they're a little bit excited, but this isn't unique to Bernie Sanders. Every candidate has supporters who are sometimes overzealous. And in fact, there's actually evidence that Bernie Sanders supporters are less aggressive than Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump supporters. So I'll get to that, but first I want to get to this article from Time. So it was published by Time, but written by Sally Kohn. Now, I actually really love Sally Kohn. She actually was a Bernie Sanders supporter. And she's defended Bernie Sanders on the mainstream media, but the problem is that she's buying into mainstream media myths. She's buying in to the idea that Bernie Sanders supporters are crazy and unique in that they really just hate women. So I'll read to you what she has to say. So the Bernie bros are real. I've been the target of Bernie bros on social media, and when I endorsed Senator Sanders at a Brooklyn rally in front of more than 30,000 people, a not insignificant portion of the audience booed me for praising Clinton in my remarks. It's also too easy to suggest that Sanders supporters are a different kind of angry than Trump's. Are we entirely sure about that? The populist right may be more inclined toward misogyny and xenophobia, but the populist left is not immune from these afflictions. And as I've written before, when you see progressive white men, many of whom enthusiastically supported Barack Obama's candidacy, hate Clinton with every fiber of their being, despite the fact that she's a carbon copy of Obama's ideology, or in fact now running slightly to his left, it's hard to find any other explanation than sexism. Now, the main problem and the reason why this author is actually growing disenchanted with Bernie Sanders supporters is because she rationalizes distaste towards Hillary Clinton by using sexism. Because she says that Barack Obama in 2008 is just like Hillary Clinton now. In fact, 2016 Hillary is to the left of Barack Obama. But you see, the problem with that is that we don't believe her. She's taking leftist progressive policy positions to appease the progressive base because Bernie Sanders has taken them. So when she talks about the TPP and saying that she now is against it, we know that she's lying because she once called it the gold standard. We know that she's lying because she's taken campaign contributions from people who backed the TPP. So we just don't believe her. And even though she's technically to the left, well, she's not in actuality. And when she gets in office, I'd bet every single dollar I have that she will certainly support the TPP, for example. And furthermore, this notion that Hillary Clinton now is where Barack Obama was in 2008, it's not entirely true. So one, Barack Obama was against the Iraq War. Hillary Clinton voted for it. That can never be erased from her record. And second of all, Barack Obama implied that he would try to get money out of politics because he said that he would not conduct politics like business as usual, meaning he wouldn't allow lobbyists to run his campaign. But as soon as he got in office, well, we found out that that was a lie. Hillary Clinton didn't promise that when she was running. She promised to basically run politics as usual, and we didn't want that. We didn't want the status quo, and we thought that Barack Obama would actually facilitate real change. But we learned that that's not true. So the fact that Hillary Clinton is effectively promising to be Obama's third term, it makes us not excited at all. It's not appealing because that incremental change that Obama brought, and he did do some good things, well, it's no longer something that will be sufficient. We need widespread systemic change. We need to get money out of politics, not just have more transparency. So when Hillary Clinton says that she's going to be like Barack Obama, well, this is troubling. I don't want a third Obama term. See, as soon as he got into office, he appointed Goldman Sachs operatives to his administration. He decided to do favors for people who donated to his campaign. So for example, the FCC chair donated $800,000 to both of his campaigns. Another example is the ambassador to Norway. Well, this guy donated to Barack Obama's campaign, and Obama put him in even though he doesn't know anything about politics in Norway. He doesn't know that they have a monarchy. So this is corruption, and we don't like it. We don't want the same thing to happen with Hillary Clinton, and that's why we don't trust her. So can you make the case that some of Bernie Sanders supporters are too overzealous, that sometimes they use sexism and xenophobia to attack Hillary Clinton and her supporters? Well, of course. But if you're going to say that, you have to say the same thing about Hillary Clinton. But when you use the term Bernie bro, you buy into the narrative that the DNC and the corporate media is trying to sell you in order to demonize people who want to change the status quo. See, this same card was already played in 2008. There was an article from Salon where it was titled "Obama Boys Back Off," because apparently all of Obama's supporters were overly zealous and were sexist. But by and large, the overwhelming majority of Bernie Sanders supporters are not sexist. In fact, we didn't even know that Bernie Sanders was going to be running. We all, myself included, were part of the campaign to draft Elizabeth Warren to go up against Hillary Clinton. Also, if Hillary Clinton becomes the nominee and Bernie Sanders is out, I'm voting for Jill Stein. And the last time I checked, Jill Stein was a woman. So it's just a false attack on progressives who are people who are least inclined to actually resort to sexism and xenophobia. Of course, a small portion will do that, and that's wrong. We condemn that. But to say that Bernie Bros is this widespread phenomenon that's happening, it's a lie. See, here's the biggest problem with the Bernie Bro myth. All of the misogyny and the racism and the xenophobia that people claim is happening within Bernie Sanders' base is also happening within Hillary Clinton's base. You can go to berniebroWho.tumblr.com to see numerous examples of Bernie Sanders supporters being harassed. I've also covered on the podcast how many of my female viewers who support Bernie Sanders have been called every single sexist name you can imagine by Hillary Clinton supporters who say that they're betraying their gender by supporting Bernie over Hillary Clinton. And additionally, a recent survey found that Hillary Clinton supporters are actually more aggressive than Bernie Sanders supporters. So going to that survey, Donald Trump has the most aggressive supporters, obviously, at 57%. Hillary Clinton comes in second with 30%. And Ted Cruz comes in third. So Bernie Sanders has the second least aggressive supporters behind John Kasich, probably because he actually doesn't have any supporters. And 68% of Bernie Sanders supporters are not that aggressive. So in conclusion, is it the case that there are assholes in every single camp? Of course, nobody can deny that. But when you say Bernie bro, what you're referring to is a term used by the corporate media establishment, by Hillary Clinton operatives who try to demonize and delegitimize Bernie Sanders and his supporters because they're afraid. They're afraid that when that many people come together and mobilize and do grassroots activism, that their passion can facilitate a change in the status quo, and they don't like that. So they are doing everything in their power to stop that from happening. So if they have to slander us, if they have to call us racist and sexist, well, then they're going to do it because they want to protect their interests and the interests of their corporate donors. That's what's happening. So when you use the term Bernie bro, you're helping perpetuate a lie by the corporate billionaire class, and that's not acceptable. See, Bernie Sanders supporters have formed a movement, and it's not just comprised of white males. It includes straight people, gay people, black people, white people, people of every single color of the rainbow, of every single religion. And we all came together for one purpose. We actually want a real progressive in the White House. We want to get money out of politics. We want universal health care. We want humanistic policies to actually be on the agenda in American politics. Other than, I don't know, maybe tax cuts to billionaires, maybe war. We don't want that anymore. So I'm sorry that you're mistaking our passion as sexism and misogyny, but I've got news for you. This passion is fighting for the greater good of the country, okay? I care about Hillary Clinton supporters. I care about everyone in the country. I care about Donald Trump supporters. Hence the reason why I'm a humanist progressive. I want to make sure that we have policies that will save lives. That is, not going to war, having universal health care, and actually helping the middle class and keep them alive because they're fading away. That's what this movement is about. Bernie Bros is a myth. So please, to the author of this article, Sally Cohn, I honestly really am a fan of your work. I enjoy everything that you do. I think you're a great journalist. But you've just been misled here. It's really easy to buy into this narrative because if you hear something over and over and over and over, well, then suddenly it just seems to be true and you just accept it. But this is false. And look, there are people within the Bernie Sanders base, as I've stated, that are overzealous and sexist. I condemn them. I don't condone that. But this is true in every single camp. So if you're going to focus on Bernie bros, then also focus on Hillary bros and Trump bros and Cruz bros, even if they still exist, because they are more aggressive than Bernie Sanders supporters by and large, according to the survey, and also the evidence. You could read it on the Tumblr page I provided you with. So the Bernie bro myth has got to die because it's not true, and all it does is perpetuate a myth that seeks to demonize people who actually care about policy.